Okay, so if you tuned in yesterday and you watched my review of the movie The Drone and how piss poor that movie was, well, I can guarantee you we're back on track because this movie, way better. Hey guys, welcome to Happywax TV. So, yeah, Portal seems to be a popular title name, at least in the next couple of weeks anyways. I mean, we've got this movie which is called Portal, and then I think on the 22nd of October we've got a movie coming out called Portals. So I will review both of them, obviously. I'm going to do Portal right now. And I'll tell you something. I love low-budget horror movies. You guys know this. I say it every time I do a review. But it's just, you know, like I said yesterday in the Drone review, you know, as low budget as it is, you have to be forgiving of some things. You know what I mean? Like some special effects, you know, lack of budget, obviously, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, the acting has to be there. It really does, because that's what saves low budget horror movies, is a well-acted movie, okay? The Drone didn't really have that. I mean, it was so cheesy, you know what I mean? And it was just like Sharknado-y almost, and it just drove me nuts because I really wanted to like that movie and I just couldn't. But then this movie, and I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of skeptical before I sat down and watched it. Just always in the back of my head, I always think, you know, these mega low budget movies, I'm thinking, okay, I want to like this. I tell everybody I like low budget horror, but is this going to be like a sci-fi special fucking type movie or what? Do you know what I mean? And I'll tell you, I was pleasantly surprised with this movie. I thought it was really fucking good, except for the third act. But we'll get to that just in a minute, and it wasn't that bad, but I will explain. So anyways, the movie is directed by Dean Alato. I'm not familiar with him, but he has been around for a while, and he has worked on a ton of TV shows. And the cast is familiar. I recognize the faces. Ryan Merriman plays Steven, recognized his face. Jamie Tisdale, recognized her face. And then there's not a huge cast in this, but the one name and face that you will recognize is Heather Langenkamp. And she is a huge horror icon. I mean, she was Nancy in Nightmare on Elm Street. And I believe, I haven't really watched any of the episodes, but I believe she was in American Horror Story in one of those seasons. So, but it was nice to see her on the screen again too, which was kind of cool. So, anyways, very quickly, the synopsis. I'll read it for you. When an ambitious ghost hunter performs a risky ritual, opening a portal to the other side, he and his team quickly find themselves way in over their heads in a fight for survival against an ancient demonic force. Okay, so that is the kind of the summary of the movie in a nutshell. So very quickly, basically, Steven has like one of those ghost hunter TV shows, reality shows. But what puts him aside from the other ghost hunters is, like, all the other ghost hunter TV shows are bullshit, right? Like they fake the scares, or they fake what they see and all this sort of stuff. And it's a lot of, you know, stuff that they add in just for the views. Well, he is adamant on not having any of that. So a lot of his shows fail, okay? Well, actually, they all fail, really. I mean, it's all the way down to the last episode, and he really hasn't had any paranormal activity. So they don't actually say it, but the show is probably going to go off the air or lose all its followers, you know, because he won't break from that way he is, you know what I mean? Like, he wants to see, or he wants to be able to talk to ghosts, and it's just not happening for him. So anyways, they're down to the last episode. So he finds this guy who has these locations that other ghost hunter shows are using, but for $5,000, he gives him the money, and this guy gives him some leads to some actual haunted houses. But while he's downloading these places, right, there's 4 files there. There's one file, I forget what it says, but it's like do not open or something like that. I can't remember. But anyways, they kind of steal that file as well. And when they get home, him and Chris open this file up, and there's this house there called the Jalna house. I think it's a Jalna or Java, I can't remember. But anyways, the father, the background history on the house is the father went crazy, and he shot both his wife and his children dead, except for one who survived, right? And they think, okay, this is the perfect house. It has to be haunted, right? And it looks creepy as fuck. So that's kind of where the second act picks up is them going to this house, getting set up, and then they do their broadcasting, right? Try as they might, they cannot summon any ghosts. Okay, so anyways, and it's almost at the, well, hang on, before I get to that. So there's this block, and they call it something, I can't remember what it is, but it's got this spiral on it with these people on it that looks like they're getting sucked into this vortex or this portal. So anyways, Steven's so pissed off that he can't get any ghosts to talk to him or the father or anything. And they actually have to stoop to a level that he doesn't want to do, where they actually have to fake a couple of scenes just so that the show will look like it actually, can talk to ghosts. And he doesn't want to do this, but he's talked into it. So he does a couple scenes like that, and he's pissed. So he's frustrated, and he goes outside, and he pisses on this, I don't know if it's like this tombstone thing, this spinny thing. Okay, anyways, long story short, it uncovers, it covers this arrow when he's pissing on this block, and it's pointing to this box, right? So they dig the box up, they do an incantation, right? Because it's got this picture or this scripture inside that you have to read. So downstairs in the basement, they put this circle thing on the floor, read the incantation, and then that's it. That's all I'm going to say. So that is basically right at the halfway mark of this movie, okay? So that's the first and halfway through the second half of this movie, okay? Now, I know I was really quick, okay, and there's a lot more to it that happens here, but I'm telling you, what I liked about this movie was the acting. These guys seemed invested in this movie, and I mean, honestly, you'd be hard-pressed to find a budget of this, this small, okay, minute of a budget to find actors in this, like acting as well as you could in this movie. And the other thing too is when you get these lower budget horror movies, a lot of them, well, they're all filmed on video, okay? But this one didn't have that video look. Now, some of it is the found footage style, which takes away from that because it's grainy, okay? But even the actual Steadicam shots, they have that same kind of a grain to them. Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't have that video look, which I really don't like. I mean, I don't know, I'm just not a big fan of that look, but this movie doesn't have that look. And I'll tell you something else too. The score of this movie, whoever suggested they go this route is a genius, okay? Because not only does this movie have a John Carpenter kind of a feel to it, but the score to this movie has John Carpenter written all over it. And I literally just got done listening to a commentary for Big Trouble in Little China. So I'm kind of in John Carpenter mode because he is a fantastic director. And it was just, as soon as I heard the music and the background kind of music, and I was like, fuck man, that's like obviously they're taking, a bit from John Carpenter and using it here, and goddamn does it ever work. Like it really does. The acting is great and the score is fantastic. The setting and the house pieces are great, and it works. What I didn't like about this movie was the third act, and again, I'm just going to chalk this up to a lack of budget. I mean, there really wasn't a huge payoff. Like, other than we do get to meet Heather Langenkamp, and she's in this movie as Fiona, the surviving daughter. But I mean, goddamn, it was lackluster at best. You know what I mean? And again, low budget horror movies, you have to be forgiving, and I am. You know what I mean? Because I really did like this movie, but it is just a shame that they just couldn't find a bit more money just to kind of juice up the ending a little bit. Like, it just needed something more. Now, actually, now that I'm thinking, I'll give you an example. Paranormal Activity. The original ending to that movie was very lackluster, okay? But then Steven Spielberg stepped in and he gave us the ending we have now. A little more exciting, a little more, I guess, theater audience type of style of an ending. Do you know what I mean? And that's just what this movie needed. Like, it was a great movie. I really did enjoy it. But it's just the ending. It was just the ending was lacking. You know what I mean? And I just wish it had a bit more budget just so they could have just added some more stuff into it, just to make it a little more creepier. You know what I mean? And just give it that push over the edge. So, I don't know. Like, I did like this movie. I was going to give it a rating. I'd probably give it a very strong 7. You know what I mean? You go on IMDb, it's got like 4.5. I think that's largely in part to the third act, because again, lack of budget, and it just, you know what I mean? Like, it just wasn't there. But I mean, this is way better than a 4.4 movie. I mean, I've seen movies that are 4.4. Do you know what I mean? And this was nowhere even close. I mean, the acting is fantastic. The score is fantastic. Yeah, so I'm gonna recommend this movie highly. What did I say? I give it a 7, 7.5, probably a 7. Do you know what I mean? Like, it is definitely worth your time to watch. It's a good Halloween flick. I mean, it's not really gonna scare you that much. Do you know what I mean? But it keeps you wondering right up to the end. You know, and there are a few silly scenes in this movie. Like, one girl gets possessed, and it's kind of laughable. I will admit that. But again, lack of budget. You know what I mean? You can only work with what you've got, and I really do think that they did a great job with working with what they had. So anyways, the movie's called Portal, not Portals, Portal. Portals comes out next week. I'm going to do a review on that one. So anyways, if you have seen this movie, let me know what you think of it. If you haven't seen it, watch it. Please watch it, because they deserve it. I mean, rent it, because they worked really hard on this, and I think they've got a pretty good low-budget gem here for you. But anyways, watch it. Get back to me. Let me know what you think of it, guys. And as always, stay scared.